Hi, I'm Marcus Coloma, and you're watching The Red Booth.
Hi, welcome to The Red Booth Show. I'm your host, Kimberly Q. On tonight's episode, I have actor Marcus Coloma. He talks about all of his latest shows and even a new series. So come and join us. So hey Marcus, how's it going?
It's going amazing. It's going really good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on the show.
Yep, thanks for having me.
Definitely. I'm excited because you have a very extensive repertoire of doing acting.
Yeah, thanks. I've been doing it for a while, so yeah, I've got to do a little bit of everything. Like honestly, inside and outside of acting as you do. I mean, it's funny as an actor because there's just so many different phases that you go through, you know?
Like what?
Well, I mean, there's the beginning phase when you first get here. For me, I moved here when I was 18 years old. I did the whole thing of just like packed up the car, stayed the night in my car the first night. I remember brushing my teeth in a gas station the next day.
Whoa.
Yep, finally.
Where did you come from?
I came from Northern California.
Okay.
Yeah, Santa Rosa or Cobb Mountain. I don't know if you know that place.
It's near San Francisco?
It's like 2 hours northeast of San Francisco.
Okay.
Yeah. Tiny, like, you know, population 6 people. It's like really tiny. We didn't get cable until I think I was in high school because it was so out in the boonies, you know?
Wow.
Yeah.
And then you're like, television. I want to be on there.
Yeah. Well, it was movies because honestly, we didn't get that much TV up there. It was very remote, and so I remember seeing there was this movie theater 30 minutes away, and there was like a McDonald's and a Taco Bell, which was like going out for us. Like going to McDonald's was going to a restaurant, you know?
Yeah.
And we would see these movies, and then I would just be inspired for months after that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. So you were up there, and then you decided to come to LA, and you drove down here when you were 18.
Drove down when I was 18.
What did your parents say about this?
My parents were surprisingly very supportive.
That's great.
Yeah. My dad was really good at sports when he was younger, and he could have gone pro, but he decided not to, and he really wanted, you know, at that time he'd played football for so long that he was kind of burnt on it, and so he decided to just be more family-oriented. But I think they really understood the importance of a person making a decision on their own, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So you came out here, you stayed, and you were in the gas station, brushing your teeth, and then you decide where you're going to go from there.
Well, then it was like, you gotta realize this is before internet, so it wasn't like you could just Google things. So I went to a yellow book and checked the yellow pages, you know?
Yeah.
And looked at acting agents and how to get an agent and stuff like that, which is just, it's brutal. It's like a needle in a haystack. So I finally got into an acting class, and then through that, word of mouth, met people who had a friend, blah, 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 and you kind of figure it out. But I would say, like, if I really boiled down the career, it was just about focusing in on the craft and what is acting and what makes a good actor and how do you get better and what makes an interesting performance and how do you get more comfortable auditioning and how do you get more comfortable being in front of a camera and just different manifestations of that.
Everything you just said, I wish I know the answer.
Well, I mean, you probably know more than you think. Jack Nicholson, this is a paraphrase, said that tension is an actor's worst enemy, you know? And I think a lot of my friends and people that I've talked to, they're so good, but then they get in that audition or the cameras turn on and then they get really tense, and then you lose all of that gold that you can do on the ride home in the car or with your friends or kid, whatever it is, and you're just this brilliant actor, and then they say action, or you walk into that audition room and then it's like, you know. And I think 90% of it is just becoming more comfortable and just relaxing and trusting your instincts, because your ideas of how to play something or do something are going to be totally different than my ideas. And I think that's what makes my favorite actors, is there's such a comfortable confidence and certainty in their ability and talent to just display their ability. Like Benicio del Toro in the Emmys recently was just so compelling because, you know, the microphone was here and he was talking over here like this, and then he knew that he was able to do what he wanted to do. And I think that's very powerful.
That's cool. It's so true though, because that's when people freeze up. It's in the auditions, and then they like don't do it. But nowadays, people are doing it totally differently. They're doing the tape, the self tape, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's great. I mean, I booked a couple of roles off the self-tape, which is amazing because you can do literally 100 takes.
Right.
And sometimes on the 80th take, you'll have an idea of, oh my God, if I took off my jacket here and I acted like I was putting it on the girl, that would make it so much more real. And it took 80 takes to realize that, and you never get that in an audition in the room.
No, because you just
Yeah.
have that one shot.
Mm-hmm.
So you started when it was like, the tough way of getting in.
Tough, yeah.
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 And so you started when you went to these acting classes, and then what was the first big like acting role that you got?
The first big gig was kind of a false start because it was a Coca-Cola commercial. And
Well, that's cool.
it was cool, but I'd quit my job. I was working at this gym, and I was like, screw you guys, I'm out of here. Because my friend...
Like, I got a Coca-Cola commercial, man. Bye.
Oh, yeah. My friend he's like, guarantee you're going to make $80,000 on this spot. Like, you're good.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I used to hear people would make like $250,000 on
yeah.
national commercials.
So I do this commercial. It was on the Warner Brothers lot. It was massive. This was back when Friends was a huge show, and I saw the cast of Friends on the Warner Brothers lot eating lunch. I'm like, this is it. I made it.
Yeah.
But then it turned out to be a Spanish market only commercial. I think I made like $4,000, and you pay your SAG dues. So at the end of it, I owed Coca-Cola like $22.
No! Oh my
But
God.
it was definitely not. It was, I basically had to go back the next day and be like, hey guys, remember when I was like, screw you guys, can I get my job back?
Yeah,
And I
right.
got the job back, and
Oh my God.
it was definitely not the big break that I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah.
And
Oh, we have to take a quick break.
Okay.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
We just ran out of time, but we'll
Yep.
be right back with actor Marcus Coloma. And welcome back to the Red Booth Show. We're here with actor Marcus Coloma. So you had your big Coca-Cola commercial.
the big Coke commercial, yep, and that didn't work out. The next thing was this MTV show called Undressed, and that one,
I remember this show.
it wasn't, it was definitely an exciting time because it was my first theatrical job, and the
And it's MTV. Which,
which is huge.
Yeah.
I was a young kid at the time, and it was very eye-opening because a lot of acting classes would focus on one scene, and you'd spend 3 months on one scene and breaking down the scene. And my first actual job, you're literally given a script
Yeah.
to shoot the next day, and there's 15, 20 scenes. And
That's television for
yeah.
you, right? Yeah.
So, and I met a lot of people on that show that eventually became very successful actors, and that's very important because they give you their, insight and ideas on acting and how to survive and make it as an actor and how to be as an artist. And like an important thing I got from that one is I had a friend who at a very young age understood that as an actor, if you're wearing a shirt that you don't like, but wardrobe is insisting that you wear your shirt, the audience won't say, oh, the wardrobe person wasn't really that great in that show. They're going to say that actor looks like an idiot, And there was something very important about that I even realize more and more now is, a lot of times people say a certain actor is difficult and blah, blah, blah. But I realize you really have to, just as it's important for a cameraman to hold his camera and to hold his position saying like, no, this is where the shot needs to be. I think an artist really has to say, this is my voice, this is what I think should happen, and be certain in that and confident. And not a jerk, but I think it took me years to realize that being difficult doesn't, obviously there's a certain way you need to treat people, but you should always maintain some sort of an artistic integrity. And I think that took me, honestly, this entire time to realize that.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, that's totally true because as an actor, you get thrown into all these situations, I can imagine, and they're like, okay, you need to say this, we're going to address you like this, and you're just kind of, oh,
Yeah.
like you're like putty, like.
Yeah, you can be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but also that's a funny thing that you mentioned because if you're not comfortable in what you're wearing, that's going to show.
It is, man, and I always thought people were being melodramatic or whatever when they would make a big deal about that kind of stuff. And honestly, wardrobe isn't a big thing for me, but sometimes, the way you say something, and, as an actor, you spend so much time learning how to become a different character, and you spend so much time exploring human behavior and all these things that you should be a professional at that. And so to have somebody that isn't, now don't get me wrong, some people are very well informed, and I'm sure if James Cameron were to explain something about a character, it would be mind changing, and you'd be like, oh my God, I get it, and that's totally right, and that happens all the time. But I think just with the more of the responsibility of an actor, like if an electrician were going to come in and do some work for you, you wouldn't want him to be like, hey, how do you want me to twist these wires, or how do you want me to rewire this thing? You'd want him to just do the job, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Mm-hmm. So you were on the show on MTV, and then were you still working at the gym?
No, I finally quit the gym.
Yeah.
At that point,
you're like, hey, this time, bye.
Yes, that at this point I was like a bona fide actor, and I was paying my bills without a day job, and that went on.
That's a big deal.
It's a huge deal. It is. It's a funny deal because that was always the goal. And in hindsight, there's so many things I would tell myself. It's not that big of a deal to have a side job. In fact, I think having a side job in a lot of ways is good, you know, because I think you're constantly out exploring different people, you know, and whether you're working at a coffee shop or at it, like I used to work at gyms or juice bars or whatever, so many different random jobs. There's something about connecting with people on a daily basis, and honestly having a job. I think one of the hardest things about being an actor is being on set and waiting around. That to me is very difficult and the toughest part. And I think I spent, 15, 18 years as an actor kind of working, and then you've got your downtime. And during that downtime, if you don't have stuff to do, you go a little bit, crazy.
Yeah, I can imagine, yeah.
Yeah, so it's not such a bad thing to be working all the time, whatever that job is. And I think there's such a funny thing about if somebody has a job other than
a stigma, kind of.
Right?
Yeah,
it's a bad thing that the person likes to work. You know?
Yeah, because I think that people will be like, what are you really? They'll be like, right? Like, you're a waiter, but you also do auditions. Fine.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of like it poo-poos
totally
what you're trying to do. But it's actually really good. I respect people that go out and make sure they have, their income coming in, and they're doing whatever it takes to pay the bills and being responsible.
Yeah.
I guess you could say.
Absolutely. And for me, what I've done, because at some point it gets a little bit awkward. It's so funny because I booked this big job, and the casting director at the time, I was working in a mall.
Can you tell us what the job was?
I can say that it's an ABC show.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a pilot.
Okay.
And the only reason why I don't want to talk about it more is because I don't know if it's going to get picked up or if it's not going to get picked up.
Okay, fine.
But this is
a very common thing as well that you have to deal with.
Yeah, it's funny. There's some people like J.J. Abrams who's very, very hush-hush about his projects.
Yeah.
To a point that...
But it's not his project.
It's not his project. It's definitely not his project. But
actually, I just got a quick take another break. We just ran out of time. We'll be right back with actor Marcus Coloma. And welcome back to the Red Booth Show. I'm here with actor Marcus Coloma. Okay, so you got this big series.
Yeah. So it was funny. About 3 years ago, I took a little break off of acting just because, for whatever reasons, you want to explore different things. And my buddy's dad owns this really big company, and they sell these things out of a mall. Now, I've been working as an actor for the last 15, 20 years, so my resume, as in let's get a normal job resume, looks like an 18-year-old kid's resume, you know what I mean? So the options aren't unlimited when you go to get a regular job. But anyways, I was working...
But it's probably really impressive to, the people in the acting world. They're like, oh, look, he's been working for this long. He's done all these shows.
Oh, yeah. And it's also normal. I had a friend who'd shot a really big Bruce Willis movie. It was this massive thing. He was one of the main leads. And he forgot to factor in taxes on his paycheck. So he had this massive movie out in theaters while he was working at Starbucks, which was... Yeah, so it happens, and I feel like most guys are like, whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Obviously, there are some guys that are smarter with their money, but a lot of us, I feel like, are very much kind of wild. We don't do it for the money, and and honestly, not for the ego. The amount of rejection you get is pretty consistent.
Brutal.
Yeah. So but anyway, so I was exploring this job, and I was working this kind of definitely not a high-profile job. I was working with other 18-year-old kids, and this casting director ran into me, and he's like, Marcus, what are you doing here? And it was just this funny moment where I realized it's kind of awkward at this point, because I've picked up random jobs throughout the entirety of the time, whether I'm working or not, just as a way to, like I said, I think it's really a great way to get to know people and explore human behavior. For instance, one of the guys when I was working there was a Navy SEAL, and seeing him interact with me without knowing anything about me was very different than if I'd set up an appointment with him and wanted to meet him and ask him certain questions, So anyway, at some point it becomes kind of tricky and hard to work. And especially with that particular job, it was very, it was based towards education. It was a learning app, basically. And funnily enough, a lot of my fan base is 7-8-year-old kids because I did this movie called Beverly Hills Chihuahua 2 and 3.
Oh, okay.
And so it would happen a lot where the kids would recognize me and then the parents and blah, blah, blah. So it gets a little bit trickier and different because they automatically assume that you've hit rock bottom if you have a job, you know what I mean?
If you're
Which is not necessarily the case. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just really want to switch it up and I don't know. There's something I like about having a normal, regular job sometimes,
Yeah.
where it's not waiting for a long time and studying this certain thing and aspect. And it's just literally like, it was never a waiter job, but here's your food. There's something about that to me that's almost therapeutic. Yeah.
I can imagine, considering that you've been mostly doing acting, so
Yeah.
that's kind of all that you've been doing.
Yeah, and it's all make-believe, and there's something cool about knowing that wall isn't fake. You know what I mean? That like behind that wall, that's just it's
not
a
a set.
prop. Yeah.
See, these are the problems of being an actor for your whole life.
And not for everybody,
I
but
know,
for
just
me,
kidding.
there was this point where I was like, what is it really like?
What's the real world like out there, right?
Yeah, totally. So anyway, there's many different phases in that sense of, the excitement of it, the actual working and being consistently working, but then there's a whole new challenge to that because nothing prepares you for being on a set. Nothing prepares you for working with what the other actor is going to do, what the writer's going to be like, what the director's going to be like, and it's constantly this. For me, the only solution I found is to be comfortable and being uncomfortable, and just literally being uncomfortable, not knowing how it's going to go. If there's a sense of anxiety or fear there, it's like, okay, that's there. This is happening right now, and I'm across from X actor, and I used to watch them when I was a kid, and now I'm like in a scene with them, and there's always weird excitement there. And it's kind of a funny rush and a very thrilling job, and I think I've learned to love it. And I remember I did a sales job. One of my random jobs was a sales job, and the guy was like, there's a certain type of fish that lives in a high pressure, deep water, but if they were to come up into the shallow water, they would die. They couldn't live in that water.
Yeah.
And that as a salesman, he had actually become accustomed to that high pressure life, and he loved that. And I think that's happened to me. I've tried so many different things, but at the end of the day, I just love whatever that is that comes with acting, the randomity and the craziness,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what happened with that series, the ABC
Well,
series?
so I didn't book that right. That was, I saw that casting director who had booked me in something else, and then 2 years down the road, this just happened, honestly, or 3 years down the road. This happened about 6 months ago. I booked this pilot for ABC. We're waiting to find out. We'll find out very soon.
That's so nerve-wracking.
It is, man. That's what I'm saying. It's like, there's never a moment of like, it's always this kind of like,
You never know what's going to happen.
yeah, it could change my life. My life could be totally different. It could never be seen again. They could totally recast everybody. There's constantly this sense of that you have nothing, but you have everything.
And how many episodes did you guys shoot?
We shot one episode for a
one?
pilot,
Yeah.
and then they extended it, and so it's a really great show. ABC's a really great network. I've been a huge fan of ABC since I was as long as I can remember. I remember being 7 years old, and they used to have this like Disney special every Sunday night on ABC that the whole family would watch. So it's kind of just being just being close to that is really exciting.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so on that note, we should take another quick break.
Okay.
We'll be right back with actor Marcus Coloma. And welcome back to the Red Booth Show. I'm here with actor Marcus Coloma. I love this interview because I get to see like a window into the life of an actor, and you've been working for so long as an actor.
It's been a long path, man. Yeah, well, just to like like a recap, basically after the MTV show, I did like various, there's a certain round, there's like the normal rounds that a lot of actors will do, like CSIs, because there's CSI Miami, Vegas, New York, blah, blah, blah. Every city's got a CSI, basically. Yeah. And that pays a lot of the bills for a lot of the actors out there. And then there were commercials. And then I'd say my next big break happened in the show
You
called...
say that so nonchalantly, but there's really not that many people. Like, if you look at all the actors...
Okay, fine. Fair enough. Yeah.
So, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
On being on CSI.
And luckily enough, I think what also happens is a lot of this is just persistence. It's just persisting and showing up and staying somehow somewhat sane and creative. And like, I gotta say, most of my friends that I started this with have done really well and work a lot. And we've all, to some degree, had pretty cool careers, The next thing for me was I booked my first TV series, which was called South Beach, which was Jennifer Lopez produced it. And we went to Miami and we shot in South Beach.
Wow.
It was amazing.
Was she like on set with you guys?
She would, it's funny because she actually never came to Miami. I met her in New York, and she would always send her friends on the show, like Pitbull, Ja Rule did an episode, like all of these huge musicians for this kind of, at the time, unknown show would always be showing up on her sets, and it was really cool because of Jennifer Lopez and her connection.
That's awesome.
And then after that, this show called One Tree Hill.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, picked me up. That was a pretty big milestone. And then I did a movie with Hilary Duff called Material Girls, which was another big one.
That's awesome.
For me. And then various different television shows that, depending on how old you are, you would probably had seen them, like this show called Make It or Break It on ABC Family, which, again, like my fan base was probably like 12 or 13-year-old kids. And then Beverly Hills Chihuahua 2 was a lot bigger than I thought it would be. I didn't realize that the franchise was as big as it was, and that there were so many very passionate dog people out there. And yeah. And I mean, from, the 7-year-old walking on the street to the executive over at CBS, like, who has a kid who's been just watching that
the same movie over
50 times. And so that was a huge moment. And it was also this really big Disney franchise. And, that was a game changer in a lot of ways, because it made me known. And because some people would watch a certain TV show, but this opened it up to a bigger, I don't know what you'd call it, demographic, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's probably even more international too, right?
That's the thing, yeah. And then with Netflix, and they picked it up, and iTunes, it's super international, and now you can watch it anytime you want. And so if it's 3 a.m. and your kid can't sleep, you can pop on Beverly Hills Chihuahua 2, which I guess apparently happens, or so I'm told, or like slumber parties, and it's funny because I would have never thought before that I got that audition that would be kind of this game changer.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's super cool. It just makes you think of all like the parents out there, and they're like, "Oh, I've seen you on the Beverly Hills."
Yes,
Chihuahua.
That's exactly what happens. And with parents, it's funny because it's usually like, it's just like they kind of stare at you for a long time.
Like, how do I know that guy?
Yeah, like, how do I know this guy?
That must happen a lot.
It
obviously,
happens a lot, yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you did the Beverly Hills Chihuahua series.
Yep.
And what's coming up now?
Well, the most exciting thing is obviously this pilot. Like I said, it's
That's right. So we're like waiting to hear.
Yeah, we're waiting to hear. I mean, last year I shot a big character arc on a show called Major Crimes.
Cool.
Which was pretty exciting because I used to love this show called Police Academy, and one of the guys.
Wait, which Police Academy are we talking about?
We're talking old school.
Okay,
like,
the original.
Yeah, the
That's
original.
awesome.
Do you remember this?
So funny.
Yeah.
Do you like drama or do you like comedy? Like, what's your favorite?
I like dramedy, I guess.
Dramedy?
I really, if I had to pick, it'd be comedy.
Yeah.
I don't do a lot of comedy, but I love comedy.
Yeah.
I fall more in the realm of dramedies where, I like really straight, ridiculous situations where people aren't trying to be funny, but it's just kind of ridiculous and funny,
So in this show that you did, is it kind of a cop show?
No, this show that I did, last year was a cop show, yeah. Yeah, it was definitely a cop show. I played this priest, and people were like, is he
Bad or good?
disgusting or is he not?
Right.
And he is in some capacity, but not in the capacity that people thought he was. And then this one, I play like just a tool. Like, he's just such a tool. Which
one is this one you're talking
This
about?
is the ABC series.
Oh, the one that we're waiting
It's such a fun
on?
character. Yeah, he's really fun because the way my take on him is he's just so he's so into his kid, and he's so into. He is. Long story short, is he's basically kind of having an affair, and he's not talking about this affair
Hence
at all.
the tool description.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there's something about him to me that's very likable, and I think he would be that likable tool where you're like, yeah, but he's so likable. Like, why do you know?
You're like, stop messing around, man.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, that sounds really cool, and I'm definitely hoping that it comes out.
Yeah, me too. I
But-
hope it all goes well because it's really good. It's kind of in the vein of like Miss Congeniality, like really, it's very female centered, and
That's great.
yeah, it is. It is. All four the four leads are girls, and they're super talented. It's great. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a lot more common nowadays, which I'm very excited about.
I am too. I mean, I actually have a daughter, so I'm very excited about that, obviously.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Marcus, we are out of time.
Hey,
but
thanks so much for having me.
yeah, thank you for being on the show. This
Absolutely.
is really great. I hope everybody goes and follows him and checks out his projects and his latest, shows and movies and everything.
Thanks.
And I'm sure they can find you easily on social media under your
Oh yeah, man. I've got the whole thing.
It's all
of
just-
the stuff.
Yeah. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram,
Yeah.
everything. Okay, great. Well, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's been great seeing you, and thanks for watching, everybody.
Yep.
Hey guys, we're here with Tony, the movie guy, and he's going to be telling us about the upcoming films and releases for this coming week.
Right, so this is the second week of October. How are you, Kimberly?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I have to be a British gentleman always. But yeah, second week of October, I'm going to tell you about the films coming out. And as I told you, so we're kind of going into Oscar season. That starts usually around October. So the first one I'm going to tell you about, which I'm really excited about, it comes out October 12th, is First Man. And this is Damien Chazelle who directed it. He did La La Land last year, and it's starring Ryan Gosling. And it's all about Neil Armstrong, the first man to go on the moon. Claire Foy as well, she co-stars. She's from The Crown. The trailers,
She's wonderful.
she's awesome. The trailers look fantastic. This is going to be one of those big Oscar films coming out. So I'm excited for that. See that in the theater, October 12th. And then Bad Times at the El Royale. Have you seen the trailer
this
for
looks
this?
so fun. Yes,
This film
looks amazing.
It
And-
looks crazy.
Yeah.
But the cast, I think, is going to be the draw for it. It's Jeff Bridges, it's Chris Hemsworth, it's John Hamm. That's just a few of them. The cast is huge. It looks like it's about a bunch of strangers who meet up in a hotel and all kinds of crazy things go on. That's October 12th as well in the theater.
Ooh, definitely go see that one.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun one. And then on Blu-ray and DVD, we have Hotel Artemis. That's with Jodie Foster. That's like a science fiction action movie. It was actually really quite good, so check that out. And then Hotel Transylvania 3. That's for the family. That's Adam Sandler as a vampire. It's an animation. Have you seen
What?
that series?
No,
You haven't seen the other
no.
ones?
Nope.
They're actually super cute.
That sounds
It's got like
fun.
Kevin James, David Spade, Chris Rock, all voice acting, Selena Gomez. I actually really enjoyed the first two, so this is the third one coming out
Cool.
on Blu-ray and DVD. That's what we've got for the second week of October.
Awesome. Thanks, Tony. And you can always watch or actually listen to your podcast on Apple Store and
Yes,
also
iTunes, TonyTheMovieGuy.com. Again, we're in the top 10 right now for
Yep.
TV and film. Also on Stitcher, on YouTube, podcast app, pretty much anywhere where you can listen to podcasts, SoundCloud as well. And then check out the website, TonyTheMovieGuy.com.
Yep. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.